What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Before we start, there will be the final tech wave of the year going up later on today. You're probably going to want to check this one out. I actually had a lot of other creators come in to help with it, and it is on the Nintendo Wii U, which is obviously Nintendo's worst selling home console to date, so it was a lot of fun putting it together and a lot of the input from the different creators. It all worked out really well. So check it out. It'll be going up later on this afternoon. As for today, well, there's some fun stuff to go over from Activision, where they're selling a dot to consumers. Yeah, it's kind of where we are with the microtransactions now. A dot, they're selling it. And then we also have to go over the Persona 5R announcement, because it was officially revealed, kind of, not completely. Again, we'll go over a bit of that as we go forward here. As always, guys, enjoy these videos, hit the like button. It does help out. We're going to start right away with a Half-Life 2 mod. Now, this Half-Life 2 mod has actually been in the works for about 9 years, which is quite a while. Now, the game, of course, came out in 2004, but it has a very loyal fan base. Of course, the fan base also asks for Half-Life 3 all the time. But as for now, this Half-Life 2 mod is simply called Half-Life 2 MM Mod, and it actually works to enhance pretty much all of the gameplay. Revised gunplay, for example, enhanced player feedback, hardened AI and AI's abilities, so they redid a lot of the AI, which is pretty cool, enhanced visuals, optional in-game graphical enhancements, and it's pretty cool to see this considering they're, again, massive fan base. You probably have it installed on your computer, or at least have it available on Steam. Most people have bought this game since it came out back in 2004, especially during Steam sales, of course, and it still stands up to this day. So if you haven't played it before, this mod makes it more current, I guess you'd say. But Half-Life 2 is a game that I think everyone should play. I mean, any computer is going to run this thing, like, completely. If you have, like, just no GPU at all in your computer, well, the integrated one that comes with your CPU, doesn't matter. You should be able to still play it. And pretty cool to see this mod, and it's available. You can go get it, patch your game, and start playing. We also found that Celeste is getting a full collector's edition, physical collector's edition, through Limited Run Games. Of course, it's on Switch and PS4. You can see some of the pictures here. This is being done by Limited Run Games. They posted these images up on Twitter, and of course it's going to come with the game, obviously. Also a sticker sheet, Celeste mountain patch, poster, postcard, a steelbook case, which actually looks really, really cool in that image, by the way. The soundtrack on cassette, which is interesting, a plush strawberry. Limited Run is also including a card that includes a recipe for strawberry pie, I guess, just in case you want to make that at home, I guess. I mean, it's themed, obviously, around the strawberries you collect. But anyway, this is pretty cool to see. Celeste, awesome game. I'm glad to see that it's not only getting a physical edition, but also, of course, a big collector's edition. However, it does seem like it's gonna kind of limited. It's going to go up for pre-order and sale starting Tuesday, so tomorrow on the 1st, 10 a.m. You're going to want to check by their site as soon as possible, just to find out when the countdown timer is to when you can get in there and get one pre-ordered. There's also two different prices. The Switch is going to be $79.99, and the PS4 copy is going to be $74.99. There's only going to be 2,500 copies of the collector's edition made, so it could turn out to be fairly limited. And if you're looking forward to Jump Force, good news, it sounds like there's going to be an open beta of some kind, which is good, being done, of course, by Bandai. And it was actually first spotted on the Xbox One's Microsoft Store, as you're seeing here. This was actually put up by PS360 HD2. They spotted several different stills of it on the Microsoft Store, with dates starting January 18th, and then kind of going on from there. For example, January 18th, the 19th, and the 20th, with varying different time slots. I'm not really surprised that they would do a beta for this, as of course we also got a beta for something like Dragon Ball FighterZ on all different platforms. I expect this to be done over pretty much all platforms. So the PS4 and the Xbox should have a beta, and now we kind of get an idea that's going to be mid-January. And with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. We're going to start right away with Call of Duty Black Ops 4, as they are now selling a dot in their market store. Now, if you're not aware, when Call of Duty first really launched, it didn't have things like microtransactions or loot boxes or loot crates or anything. It was an interesting idea because we were all kind of caught off guard. We expected loot boxes and all kinds of stuff to be thrown in there for extra monetization, but when it first came out, we really didn't have that. And that's because Activision did what a lot of us figured some of these companies would start doing. They would keep the microtransactions out of the game for initially the first month, I would say. And then after the initial reviews and sales have gone forward, well, guess what? We're going to patch those microtransactions right in there. And that's what they did, to the point where it's now called the black market. You can basically work through seasons, and it takes a ton of experience, a lot of grinding there, or of course you can technically just buy the stuff. In fact, here's one thing that people noticed, and it's a little ridiculous, I would say. But yes, you can buy a dot for your reflex sight. It's $1. Actually, no, you know what? Guess what? It's on sale. 50% off, guys. 50 cents. Yeah, it's 50 of their currency, which equates to 50 cents. Usually it's 100. And I'm not really surprised, I guess. I mean, it was something that was going to happen either way. We've talked about it a lot, right? Where companies will push until they can't push anymore. Happened with Battlefront 2 when it came to the loot boxes. And I think Call of Duty maybe recognized that a bit, although they've also essentially done what Fortnite's kind of doing with their seasons and like the Battle Pass stuff and everything. But microtransactions are going to be in a lot of these AAA games, as we assume, as they've been in. But this is a bit much. It's a literal dot, like, that you put on your reflex sight. It's yeah, that's where we are right now in AAA gaming or big budget gaming. It's they gotta sell you dots apparently. But yeah, $1 or 50 cents, you can get a pretty cool dot in Call of Duty. The situation's obviously ridiculous, but Activision's taking it very seriously. And now what are they gonna do? What's next? They're selling a dot now, which obviously used to be, free in the old Call of Duties. But what would they do after this? Because this is something, a dot on your screen. I don't even know where they go from here. How do they impress me further with this? But yes, ladies and gentlemen, a dot for $1 in Call of Duty. Next up, let's talk about Persona 5R. We talked about the URLs that were popping up, the security certificates that were moving around. Everything was pointing to some sort of announcement soon, and we did get that. On Sunday, Atlas actually had the website go live, and they put out a trailer that really didn't tell us much of anything, just that it is Persona 5R. So that URL does seem to point at least to what the title was, and we still know that P5S and Persona 5S and everything, all of that's still out there floating around, but we figured this was going to be happening pretty soon, and it did, and now we're all kind of looking at this wondering what it is. They did say more information will be coming March 2019, so yeah, we got to wait a while. But it's odd that we have to wait that long for what appears to be, if I had to take a guess, I told you guys before, there's that chance that it could just be another PS4 game that they are going to add new stuff to, whether it's new dungeons or new characters or equipment, who knows, extra stuff essentially, so they can sell the game again, because Persona 5 was received well, it sold well for a Persona series. That's like the breakout game in that series where they crossed over 2 million copies and everything. It's a big deal for a Persona game, which is generally not sold amazingly well, but it was cool to see that one basically enter the mainstream. And now we're wondering, is it just a PlayStation game? Because they don't technically have any real platforms listed. They have the Sony or the PlayStation logo flash in the beginning, but so did Crash Bandicoot Team Racing when we had that revealed to us at the Game Awards, and we all figured it was a PlayStation 4 game, like we all just said, okay, that's PS4 timed exclusive or something. But then it turns out they just showed us the PlayStation trailer and that it was on all platforms. So I'm not sure if this is a Switch game or not. I think there's a chance that something Persona would be going to the Switch just based on the system's success in Japan right now. And of course, Atlas and Sega would love to get in on that soon. And also think about the idea of maybe Nintendo wants to reveal that at their thing, like a Direct, for example, that could be coming up soon, as we assume we're entering January now, and maybe in the first half of January we see a Direct, and maybe in that Direct they show us Persona, maybe they show us other stuff. We'll see though, but for now, just know we have a Persona 5R, something happening with it in March, and as far as we know right now, it is at least a PlayStation game. Maybe it's a Vita game. They didn't say PlayStation 4, right? Next up, let's talk about some video cards, because we know, of course, Nvidia released the Nvidia RTX 2080 Ti, the 2080, and the 2070 to middling reviews and some frustrations around the pricing. And then, of course, I guess just the performance with ray tracing. It's kind of been all over the place, a bit of a wild ride. But the one thing that a lot of us have seen is that these cards do outperform their older cards. By how much and if it's worth upgrading, that's up to you. But one thing we've been kind of missing is maybe one that's a bit more budget oriented, because of course before we had the 1050 and the 1060, most people would buy something like the 1060 though with like 6 gigabytes of RAM, because of course 1050 won't quite cut it for enthusiasts, but the 1060 could, especially at something like 1440p. So we were all wondering, is there going to be an RTX 2060? And yes, it appears that there will be, as some of the documentation for reviewers was kind of put out online, and you're going to actually see a spreadsheet of it right here. This is done by videocards.com, that's with a Z. The GeForce RTX 2080 Ti, the 2080, the 2070, and the 2060 all detailed across the top. And as you would expect, looking down the 2060, it is of course lesser than the 2070, the 2080, and the 2080 Ti in performance, but also in price. They're looking to put this out at $349, which would be the cheapest for the RTX line. And you can see, of course, it is less powerful than 2070 at 6.5 teraflops, and it would pack 6 gigabytes of GDDR6 memory. That's actually not bad. That would actually work pretty well for a lot of games at what you would assume to be 1440p, which is what I figure they would be aiming for. And based on their own benchmarks, again, their own benchmarks being Nvidia's, we'll have to see what actual third parties can get out of these things in reviews, as I tend to trust them more than Nvidia. It looks like it actually stacks up very well to the 1070 Ti, especially when you start looking down the charts at 1440p. It becomes pretty evident that the 1070 Ti and the 2060 are evenly matched, with actually the 2060 even overtaking the 1080 at times. And for $350 for a brand new card out the gate, that's actually a pretty good deal at that point, especially since 1440p has become, I would say, the more accepted gaming resolution, with higher frame rates available, or just in general refresh rates for your monitors available at 1440p, whereas 4K is unattainable for a lot of us, considering the pricing around a 4K 144 hertz monitor is obscene. But a 1440p at that resolution, and then of course the higher refresh rate at 144 hertz is a bit more attainable. So I don't know when they're going to put this out, but we do kind of have an idea that AMD is going to show up at CES 2019 in a couple weeks now, and they're going to drop some information about their next video card line. And there's also a chance that they might just drop a new Radeon GPU, like right there. Like, here it is, it's coming out like in the next week or two. Get ready, get your pre-orders in. So it's exciting stuff nonetheless, because this is when we're going to start seeing some of the lower budget cards, or just the budget cards in general, lower price, start to kind of duke it out, and that's when we get good performance for a much lower price. And in the last bit of news, I want to talk about a really cool modification that I saw over the weekend. I happened to come across this. It was being shared all over the place. I want to share it with you guys as well. This is called the Peewee, and it is, believe it or not, a handheld Wii and GameCube all in one, because of course the Wii plays GameCube games. This was done by Shank Mods, and they took a literal Wii, cut it up, because of course if you don't cut out anything super important and the system can still run, you can essentially cut the board down to put it into a smaller case like they did here. And yes, it plays Wii games, GameCube games. You can sync up Wii remotes. You can play it as a handheld. They weren't able to put the disc drive in there because I showed you guys the Wii. That's like one of the biggest parts. That's the reason that system is as large as it is, because of that disc drive. So instead, they of course opted to modify the Wii and then play through a USB drive that a lot of people use now, whether it's through an external or they just used a little USB flash drive. This is really cool to see, though, to see something like this. The handheld devices where you take like a larger system and create it into, or turn it into like a handheld, it's been done for a while now, but this is a Wii. I mean, that's so cool. You have technically a portable GameCube and Wii in your hands. That's one of the coolest things I've seen in a long time. The Nintendo 64 one was pretty cool as well, but you need to have the cartridge slot in there, which was kind of bulky. This actually looks very, very small. It does have a fan built in as well, so that probably kind of increased the thickness a little bit, but it definitely doesn't look large. So a neat thing to see there. Very, very creative. And the video is actually down below in the sources if you want to go check it out further. They have a long form video playing all types of different games, and it's really cool to see. I wish I could buy something like this, because, I mean, who wouldn't want like a handheld like Wii or even a GameCube to play all of those older games? It's what everyone wants on the Switch at this point, or as a way to play GameCube games, and they already did that. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button. It does help out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about, whether it's Persona 5R. Do you think that's just a PlayStation game? Do you think that's coming to the Switch? Do you think that's a Vita game? Let me know what you guys think down below, because they didn't really give us any information at all other than the PlayStation logo and, of course, the March 2019 unveiling of whatever this project is. Let me know about that down below. And then what about Activision selling dots that go to your reflex sights in Call of Duty for $1 a piece? Do you think that's pushing it too far? Or do you think it's more the fault of the people who keep buying these things and enabling Activision to just keep doing it? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.